Chapter 20, One Last Thing. Bill stepped into the critical care unit with the cares of the world all over his face. Emily, I'm so sorry that I'm late. Andrew never showed up. He promised he would come to visit tonight. I am so frustrated with him. These days, he just doesn't seem to think about anyone but himself. Bill, it's okay. I'm not going anywhere. Anyway, something probably came up for Andrew. He was here just last Sunday, and with all of us together, we had a wonderful time. I know, honey, but none of us knows how much time before this cancer. Bill stopped and looked away. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put it that way. Bill, you don't have to worry so much, and we really should talk about it. The truth is that unless God does a miracle, it's just a matter of weeks before I go on to be with him. Emily, I'm so sorry that I'm not being stronger for you, but I'm really not ready, and I don't know how to get ready for losing you. I guess I had hoped that my research would someday help people with cancer, and now I feel so utterly helpless. Bill, all of this is in God's hands. Only he knows the plans he has for us, but we know that his plan is to help us and not to harm us. Even now, he has plans to give us a hope and a future. Emily, for years, your faith in God has been a pillar of our family. Bill, your faith in Christ is just as important to me. Please, you don't have to carry this burden for me. Jesus will carry both of us. I love you, Bill. Bill moved up to Emily's bedside and embraced her with tender care so that he wouldn't cause her any discomfort. Emily, I love you so much. They held this embrace for as long as it could with Bill so out of balance. In time, Emily finally said, Bill, I need your help with something. Sure, honey, what is it? I was talking with my roommate earlier, and she began to open up to matters of faith, but it wasn't long before her husband came in and took over the entire discussion. Eventually began explaining his reasons for unbelief. A few things related to biology were hard to answer, and I thought you'd be able to help me. Oh, sure. So what did he say? Well, first he said that he had once visited a Bible study where they were discussing the jealousy between Cain and Abel, and he had asked the old question about where did Cain got his wife? And the leader told him that the story was just a metaphor for human conflict. He thought this was a lame way of explaining away a mythological story. So what did you tell him? Well, I told him that the story of Cain and Abel was just as much a part of the historical record as any other part of the Bible, and that he might consider reading at least to the next chapter where it explains that Adam and Eve had many other children. So that made Cain's wife a sister or cousin. Great, Emily. So how did you respond to that? Oh, then he just asked how Cain could have a sister as a wife if God was against incest. So I explained that the laws against incest were not given until much later to Moses, and that Abraham had earlier married his half-sister, Sarah. Sounds to me like you explained things pretty well. So what else was there? Well, then he revealed that he was a technician at a bioengineering company. He seemed to take pleasure in explaining to me how recessive gene defects made it impossible for siblings and near cousins to intermarry because of harmful birth defects. So, Bill, what would you answer something like that? Bill reflected and then said, well, Emily, as you know, every child inherits two sets of genes, one from each parent. Now, since the origin of man, the human genome has slowly accumulated degenerative birth defects. Today, siblings are more likely to inherit the same defects since they share the same parents. On the other hand, those without a close relationship are far less likely to inherit the same defects. Now, when common defects are paired up, a person is at great risk of suffering such harmful things such as Down syndrome, sickle cell anemia, and even a heart defect like Andrew. Sure, I guess I knew all that, but how does that relate to the challenge offered by this biotechnician? Emily raised a half smile. Oh, well, when God created man in the beginning, everything was very good, Genesis 1:31. So there were no genetic mistakes in the human DNA. Only after the curse, and then much later, would birth defects accumulate to put humans at risk for marriage to a close relative. So only after and much later did God command against marriage with a close relative. Emily smiled bright and warmly. Bill, I knew you would have the answer. Oh, it's just biology, Emily. And faith that God's word is true, Bill. Now, Bill was smiling with deep affection for his beloved Emily. Emily took another deep breath. Next, he listed a bunch of complaints against the church like anti-scientific blind faith, the war of religion against science, the persecution of Galileo, and much more. Sounds like he was reciting a litany of woes. Litany of woes? Yes, he was reciting the standard liturgy of modern atheism. Okay, so how would you answer him? Well, I guess I would point out that the so-called war of religion against science is an example of a real metaphor which was invented by evolutionists in the late 19th century as a means to an end. Before that time, it was unfathomable to think of science and Christianity as opposed to each other, since historians generally acknowledge Christianity was the mother of science. He also explained that the Bible describes a flat earth, an earth-centered universe, and again the complaint against Galileo. Well, again, these are all evolutionary myths. The Bible does not say that the earth is flat. In fact, Isaiah and Job say that God sits enthroned above the circle of the earth, and he suspends the earth over nothing. The Bible does not require an earth-centered universe, but it often uses the language of appearance, just like NASA does when it announces a spatial launch at sunrise. Finally, the church did not suppress Galileo for an anti-biblical theory of a heliocentric universe, since its geocentric view originated with Aristotle's philosophy and not the Bible. Just as I thought, thanks for the answers and for your faith. You know, Bill, I really believe that some people are so smart that they're stupid. Bill laughed out loud at Emily's innocent and timely reminder to him and all other intellectuals. After he finally composed himself, he said, Emily, did he ever say what he does believe in? Oh, yes. He said he believes in UFOs. He started explaining why he believes we will soon make contact with extraterrestrial life, but his wife interrupted and asked him to take her on a walk in the wheelchair. Oh, my goodness. He doesn't believe in the Bible, but he does believe in aliens. Okay, now. So what were their names so I can pray for them? Oh, I believe it was Jody and Carla Forrester. Carla's liver cancer is at an earlier stage than mine, which means she may have time for a transplant. Okay, I will pray especially for Carla and that they'll both be given ears to hear, Emily. Thank you, Bill. Hopefully I'll be given another opportunity, but I know that I won't be able to share as well as you. Oh, Emily, you are far and away the best witness for Christ that I know. Emily paused to consider something. Bill, I have another kind of question for you. Sure, Emily, what is it? Bill, is it possible that the application of your research would someday mean that all birth defects, you call them mutations, could be repaired and that human life would be restored to the way it was at the beginning? Bill looked in the eyes of his dear wife and sensed a genuine concern. Well, Emily, I really don't think so. The best analogy I've heard is that of a weathering automobile. You see, the defective or worn-out car parts can be replaced with new ones. Generators, tires, and even engines can all be replaced. But when a car is continually exposed to weather, it gets so rusted out that it's impossible to repair. So it is with degenerative mutations in the human genome. Darwinism has never given answers for how all the information got into the human genome, but now we know that it doesn't even have answers for how it could remain. The universe, and now we see the life in it, all experience increasing entropy. You mean that everything is wearing out? And yes, now we know this principle applies to the information in DNA for all life, and of course this includes the human genome. So neither physical man nor mankind is eternal? That's right. I'm not surprised or even disappointed. Life as we know it can get pretty weary. I guess that's one more reason that the scriptures say that the Lord is your life. Emily took another deep breath. There's something else that's been troubling me. What about disease? Did God create disease? I've always believed that sickness was not in God's original good creation, but it seems like many diseases are designed to destroy. Well, Emily, first we need to recognize that the vast majority of microbes are beneficial and even required to sustain life on Earth. Bacteria serve in digestion, decomposition, and also as food. I once heard an estimate that the mass of all the plant and animal microbes on Earth would be equal to all the other plants and animals combined. Yet only a small fraction of these microbes and viruses cause pathology or disease. This last category may well be one of the most terrifying consequences of the fall. It appears that some of the organisms that were once beneficial have now turned on the life they once served. And the same principle applies to cancer, since in that case, the designed reproductive mechanism runs out of control. The fall of nature means that some of the original good purposes for life were broken. So whether we consider microbes or men, the tragedy is that a fallen design can destroy. Well, that helps, but it just confirms what I really believe by faith. I hope I get a chance to share this with my roommate. Even though I know I'm supposed to be prepared to give an answer, I have to say that for myself, that answers don't seem to matter as much anymore. All this week, I've been reading through the book of Job. What I noticed was that Job, as he suffered, asked all the same questions we do about why things are the way they are. But even though he asked, and maybe because he demanded, he didn't get any answers. In any case, what finally met his need weren't answers, but only the presence of God. I believe that God expects us to ask, and he will meet our needs, but what we really need is him. You know, Bill, when we get together, I sense more than at any other time that Jesus is right here with me. Yet I believe that when I go to be with his presence, it will be even better. I hope that's not sounding selfish. No, Emily, I think it's me that's being selfish. Oh, I didn't mean to say that, Bill. I love you and Andrew more than anything else here on earth, but it's just as I come closer to my time of passing, I'm really looking forward to being with Jesus. I think I understand what you mean, Emily. At least I will try to understand. Thank you, Bill. I love you. Oh, Emily, I love you so much. One last thing, Bill. Sure, honey. What is it? Bill, whatever happens, go easy on Andrew. I believe that the Lord has given me good reason for peace, that he's going to be okay. I'm still praying, but I have to stop worrying. Oh, Emily, I want to be there too. I'm trying to allow God to make me the kind of father and husband he wants me to be. Bill, you are already a great father and husband, and I believe you are a great man of faith, and that is why he wants you to remain, so he can accomplish some important purpose through you and through Andrew. With that, words were no longer needed. Emily closed her eyes, and Bill rested his head at her bedside and gently held her hand.